Emerging Infectious Diseases by Matt Richard and Kendra McSheridan.
So first we're going to compare some past and present diseases. The past diseases are ones that have been prevalent over the last century, and they include polio, diphtheria, measles, pertussis, and influenza, which could actually be categorized in both of these lists, as influenza is still heavily present today. And the common denominator here is that these diseases have vaccines for them and have pretty much been eradicated or at least heavily decreased in the amount of cases we see in much of the world. And so the exception to this list would be, as I mentioned, influenza, which we've talked about in class, can have a variety of strains changing year to year. So influenza can actually also be classified as an emerging disease. So then we move to present diseases, or diseases we've classified here as emerging. And these diseases have caused many of the most recent outbreaks on a global scale. So first we have Ebola, which has been recently present in Western Africa over the last 5 years. We've seen a lot of news about that. Zika has been much more recent, and so the last couple of years we've again seen a lot of news about its presence in many countries worldwide, including many that are commonly traveled to. MERS has been classified as an emerging infectious disease within the past couple of years, and we are now learning it can be transmitted to humans from camels. And finally, HIV and AIDS has been perhaps the most widespread of these diseases within the last 30 years. So the common denominator here is that none of these diseases have a known cure or vaccine, which is why they are still present and growing. And actually the last 3 of these on this present diseases list will be talked about in the next few slides.
So Zika is a fairly new and emerging disease and was first discovered in 1947, and then the first human outbreak was reported on the island of Yap in 2007. This virus is of the genus Flavivirus, which is named after the yellow fever virus. It's commonly enveloped and single-stranded RNA, and this particular virus is spherical in shape. The virus is thought to have originated in the rhesus monkey and was then transmitted to mosquitoes, and then mosquitoes transmit this virus to humans. Human-to-human transmission can occur through blood transfusions and then possibly sexual transmission. There's still controversy over whether or not sexual transmission is possible. It can also be transmitted from a mother who has the virus to babies, and these babies are thought to have a higher occurrence of microcephaly. Many people who have Zika virus remain asymptomatic, but if they do have symptoms, they usually present with mild flu-like symptoms such as weakness, fever, and chills. There's no vaccine yet, like Matt had mentioned, but bed rest and supportive care can help aid in diminishing those who have symptoms. The next virus is the Middle East Respiratory Syndrome Coronavirus, or MERS-CoV. It's also another newly emerging disease that is thought to have been transmitted to humans who come in close contact with dromedary camels. Human-to-human transmission is not as common, but it can still happen as it's an airborne virus. This virus is a coronavirus characterized by its crown-like spikes on its surface, which you can see in the picture here. Once infected, this virus can cause severe acute respiratory tract infection, fevers, cough, or shortness of breath. 36% of humans who become infected die from this disease, and if severe enough, they die because they have respiratory failure. Like Zika, there is no antiviral vaccine, but one can be treated for the symptoms, for the cough, the shortness of breath, and which will hopefully help to subside the virus.
Human immunodeficiency virus, or HIV, is believed to originate in the 1920s when the virus jumped from chimpanzees to humans. However, the current epidemic started in the 1970s. As far as the virus itself, it is a single-stranded, positive-sense, enveloped RNA virus that attacks helper T cells. Because it attacks these T cells, the virus may progress to AIDS or acquired immune deficiency syndrome, where the body is susceptible to opportunistic pathogens. Transmission of HIV occurs through bodily fluids and can be passed from mother to child. Individuals who contract HIV typically display minimal symptoms that may mimic a flu. However, over time, the individual may contract secondary infections more frequently. This is why people with AIDS typically die from common illnesses that the body can no longer fight. As we know, HIV and AIDS does not have a cure, but antiretroviral therapy has proven to be an effective treatment to extend the lifespan of an infected individual. Because the virus is a single-stranded RNA virus, it must carry an enzyme called reverse transcriptase, which may be an effective target for an HIV cure or vaccination in the future. So that brings us to global conditions that play a role in emerging infectious diseases. Things that negatively impact or help spread these diseases include ease of international travel in recent years, climate change, which we can hypothesize will have a huge impact on the Zika virus, as it can create a more habitable environment and wider range of environment for mosquitoes that may be carrying the Zika virus. Increasing populations and lack of education, and also poor hygiene and sanitation, which is more prevalent in developing countries that, again, have this lack of education and poor hygiene or sanitation system that can help transmit diseases more easily from person to person. So then we go to positive factors in global conditions, and these include technology, which has advanced significantly in the past 20 years alone, and this makes treatments more feasible and accessible to many families and individuals. Vaccines have proven to be the most effective method of prevention for a number of diseases that only 50 to 100 years ago affected thousands or millions of people, and today some of them have been mostly eradicated in most of the world. So as a country that has the technology to reduce the impacts of many of these diseases, we can do our part to at least help educate populations about the impact of these diseases and simple lifestyle changes that can significantly reduce their impact. We can inform travelers of the disease risks of different countries and be able to advise them on ways to stay healthy. These methods have helped minimize many diseases in the past and can surely minimize many in the future.